Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. You can watch the show on the ThunderCast YouTube channel and, of course, listen to the show anywhere you like to listen to your favorite podcast. We are literally everywhere. Russ, it is 75 week in Huntington, West Virginia. For a lot of people, that needs no more discussion. But we're going to talk about it anyway because it's got to be easily my favorite week of the football season. I think it's a lot of fans' favorite week of the football season. And I think that might be a weird adjective to use just because of what the week means. But I think favorite hits it right on the head, man. It's a week unlike any other at any other school in the entire country. And a lot of places say it's special. Their place is special. And we say Marshall is special. And this week is the reason why it's special. There is nothing like 75 week. It's going to be a great time at Jones C. Edwards Stadium, early kickoff. But how are you feeling as another 75 week comes?
Well, coincidentally, because you and I didn't talk about this, we're both wearing black, right? Mm-hmm. And it's Wear Black this Saturday. And, it's the team is going to be head to toe in black. Those sweet helmets came out. Herd Equipment just continues knocking it out of the park every single year and honoring the 75. And it's not so much just honoring those that passed away, the 75 boosters, players, coaches, administrators, fans, flight crew, everyone that was on the plane. It's not just those 75, but we honor the 1971 team and what came later just as much. And that's why it is a huge paying of respects in all accord because, without that young thundering herd of 1971, we're not sitting here right now. We're not talking about football. Maybe it came back decades later. You don't know. But, it's not like it is right now. And we don't have this story that we did right now. This week is always going to be special. I talk all the time. It's not just some nameless people that played here and moved on. One, it was a different era, so you had some local people that were on the team. But the boosters and fans were Huntington residents that were here, and their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren are still going to these games every week, and a lot of them will be there this weekend. So for anyone watching, listening, and don't really know the story or don't know it as intimately as that thinking it was 75 players. My next door neighbors, across the street from them, their next door neighbors, down the street, more neighbors, a block and a half away, more neighbors, that their parents and grandparents were directly involved in that crash. Again, we're wearing black right now on this show. Wear black this weekend. It's a blackout, and we do it for a reason, to have that crowd participation just be the 12th man, along with those other 75 that are always the 12th man during this game.
Yeah, it more than any other, this is the game that I wish I could be at annually. I love coming to the home opener because we do it so big, and I meet new people every year and see old friends every year. And the home opener is great just because it's the beginning of a new season. And without that resilience of the administration in 1971 and the young thundering herd, and I wouldn't have a home opener to go to, but this is the one that I miss the most. Because of everything else. It's not just the game. It's not just tailgates and seeing friends. It's generally when the game falls on 75, really close to the anniversary, you get the fountain ceremony, you get all the other pageantry that goes along with it. So it's just a great, great set of events and series of events in Huntington. And it's do not miss. It's do not miss. If you're a student listening to this and you've never gone to a fountain ceremony, what are you waiting on? Mm-hmm. It's the reason that Marshall football exists, man. And if you're a fan and you haven't experienced that yet, that's a great way to elevate your fandom and take you to an entirely new level. And I say this all the time, right? I don't personally know anyone that was involved in that actual crash of 1970. I don't know anyone. I wouldn't be born for another 9 years. But this story is Marshall, and when you go to Marshall, it becomes a part of you. And what I like to say, I've said many times, is it becomes part of your personal fabric. And even though I don't know anybody, I still feel very personally connected to the program, the university, the community, largely because of this. And this game, since the transformation into this modern era of the embracing of this game, the way that we have seen it, and its evolution probably over the last 12 years, 13 years, since it's really become a focal point of the Marshall football season, it's really turned into something special. And it's really turned into a first-class affair. I don't know how you can't love how the university and the community rallies around and treats this week. It's unlike anything else. It's really, really cool. And to be James Madison this week and be on the other side of that sideline and be a part of that, I think that's kind of special too, because only one opponent a year is going to get to do that. And it's not always going to be the same folks. And so, players for the James Madison Dukes, they're only going to make 2 trips, maybe 3 trips in their career to Huntington, West Virginia. And you got to think, one of those 2 or 3, what are the odds it falls on 75 week? This might be the only time that everybody on that roster takes part in 75-week game. So super cool.
Except for Emmanuel Bush, who was here from 20 through 22. So I have to imagine this is extra special for him coming home as well. Even though it's as an opponent this time, I have to imagine this is going to weigh heavy with him on this game.
Well, I think probably you take a extra beat and you just go, wow, man, that was a special place, the special locker room to be in that week, So yeah. I often forget about this portal era in respects to this game, and you don't often think about guys going, like from Marshall to JMU, but that could happen, or whoever else. I mean, we know better than anybody that our players will transfer to a conference mate. But let's talk about this one. We'll get into a little bit more discussion here later on, but let's get it going after. We got to get some bills paid, so we got to get a word from our sponsors at Leasure Oliver PLLC.
Who do you call if you are ever hurt in a wreck? If you live anywhere in West Virginia, Ohio, or Kentucky, that's Leasure Oliver PLLC. You can find them at 304carwreck.com.
Let's get it started in this Dead Meat Society Marshall football preview. James Madison coming to Huntington, West Virginia, this week's opponent, this year's 75-week opponent. James Madison's 7-1 on the season, and they are rolling 5-0 in conference, obviously first in the Sun Belt East Division. They are a really, really, really strong team. Once you start diving into what they're good at and what they're really good at, it's kind of hard to find a weakness. So coming off of the heels of what we saw Marshall do against Coastal Carolina, and then you bring in James Madison, I think certain fans will go, whew, I don't know about this one. But then there are other fans that will go, this is the perfect time to hit these guys because they're due for an off week, just like we were due for an off week, and a 75-week. So throw a lot of it out the window. November 8th, the game will happen. Of course, I mentioned earlier, it is a noon kickoff in Huntington, West Virginia at Jones C. Edwards Stadium. And for those of you that cannot make the trip, the game will be broadcast on ESPN2. But again, if you are anywhere within driving distance of the Joan, make the trip. If you can go to one game all year long, this is the one you want to go to. I would have loved to see this be maybe a 3:30 kick, but I understand. Yeah. I understand.
Even 2:30 would have been so much better, but it is what it is.
This game, should never be a noon kick, and B, should never happen earlier or later than it's supposed to this should happen next week. But it, we've come to find out. I don't know if this is true or not. You can dig into this, ask around, or maybe already. Somebody mentioned on Twitter to me that SBC teams can mark one date in the year to save or whatever, how bookmark it like we want this home, and that, true or not true, Marshall didn't do that. So whether that did or didn't happen, who knows? Whether teams can or can't do that, who knows? But if that's a thing, maybe you can find out if that's true or not from someone. But I would bet money moving forward that if they can save the date, they're going to save the date. But nonetheless, the SBC put us on the road for the true 75 weeks, so we are home a week early, and that's what we're going to celebrate. The 55th anniversary of the November 14th, 1970 plane crash, and this is the celebration, as you mentioned, of the 1971 Young Thundering Herd, the guys that just a few short months later came together, formed a football team, and went out there and competed. The first team in history, in NCAA history, to be able to field and play college freshmen. So for all you college football fans that didn't know that, Marshall and this plane crash and this 1971 Young Thundering Herd are the reason that freshmen can play college football today. Russ, you mentioned earlier about the uniforms. It's going to be a blackout. I want to take a second and dive a little bit deeper into one of my favorite things every year, which is the annual design or redesign of that helmet. And man, it's a beauty. Every year you think they can't outdo themselves, but this is a sharp one. I mean, look, I love them so much. It sits front and center right there in my background. My head just blocks it all the time, but that's my 75-week helmet, full-on display there. And, of course, I'm a huge fan of the 1971 Buffalo logo, but this is the first year we see them move away from that as a prominent side decal, instead replaced with the 1971 through 1974 script Marshall M that we've seen come into prominence a little bit more recently here. They've gone with the green instead of just the black and white. So you've got the green M in that kind of not neon. What do you call it? Metallic. That metallic green M pops off that black helmet. It's a beauty. On the other side, the 1975 or the 75 logo that we've seen since probably like 2013. I think is when they debuted that logo. The front bumper gets the little 1971 bison. And, of course, your rear bumper has the date November 14th, 1970. It's just a gorgeous helmet. I did notice the design change in the helmet stripe. For years, we've seen the names kind of reading front to back. You had to turn the helmet sideways to read the list. Well, they're just in line, going straight back. So you read them this way instead of this way. Looks sharp, man. Sharp helmet. Thoughts on how it looks related to some that we've seen in recent history?
So this is going to sound stupid as I am getting ready to get these helmet photos up here if you want them, to show everybody.
Okay.
But as I'm doing that, I'm just going to talk and say, because I thought it was so perfect when I first saw it, I was like, no, I was wanting like the Buffalo, the 1971 Buffalo to be on the side again. But you can't have it just that every single week, or every single year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can because it's sexy as heck, but
you can. But like when that happened, I saw it and I was like, no, you know what? That's solid. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's not letting me do this, and I don't want to keep doing that.
That's okay.
I can get the M up. I got to do one before my computer didn't want to do it, so I'll share one here to show the M that we're talking about, just in case somebody is watching this and has not seen it. There it is.
That thing's gorgeous.
And,
I honestly wouldn't have been mad if that were on both sides of the helmet. That thing's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, and for anyone that doesn't know, this is the 1971 to 1974. It's an alternate logo because the primary logo is what's on that front bumper. And again, I can't get them all up here. I wish I would have thought of that and did this before, but I was trying to get them from my email over, and it's just not one to do it. But that's the 1971 to 74 alternate logo. The Buffalo from the 1971 was the primary for that team.
Yeah, with the interlocking MU, which I absolutely love as well. But still, I mean, how do you rank this one in the hierarchy of 75-week helmets? I'm not asking you to go through all of them, but I think you, in your own personal choice, you think you've got it rated somewhere.
Tied for first with all the others. I mean, I have to cop out, man, because each one of them has brought new things, and I think this one, I don't know if it's the lighting of the photo or if it's actually wanting to be more like it almost looks like it's glowing in the dark. It's hyper chrome look on all the Kelly green. Whereas before it seemed like it was not as much that. So I really liked last year's. I thought last year's, man, you can't improve on that. So if I really had to pick one, that was it. And that's why I said when I saw it, I was like, no, just keep doing that one, because once you hit 2004 or 2001 Barry Bonds, you got nowhere to go but down.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my thoughts, and then I saw it, and I was like, you know what? That's sick. That
is pretty good.
That hasn't been shown before. They changed the names on the stripe, and that makes it more legible.
Yeah.
Because you used to have to turn the camera or turn the helmet, to show that, and just that one little change, it makes those names more noticeable, because before it just looked like a design, kind of. It almost looked like in the Matrix, cascading symbols going through. Mm-hmm. But now you can read those as the helmet is upright. So I just love everything about it.
Yeah, I think the bringing color to that helmet, that metallic green, and just the big splash across the M really just pops off. I think it's really, really well done. And I was a fan. I didn't think they could do any better than when they not debuted the black helmet, but debuted the black helmet on 75 week. Remember we debuted them on a midweek, but you debut that. I thought that was the perfect helmet, because that's what we were waiting on. I got the white one right there. Same deal. That's a 75-week helmet too. And at that time I thought all we need is a black shell and that design, and it doesn't get any better. So you're right. Like that one there, that both of them that I have up there are like 1 and 1A for me. And I think this one shoots right to 1C. This thing's beautiful. So really, really well done. The guys are going to look sharp, and that means you've got to do your part as fans to wear black. Yeah, it's a noon kickoff, but come on, man, it's November. It's not like you're going to be out there roasting. Okay, just do your part this time.
Talk about that real quick. It's going to be gorgeous. It's at when I'm going to be over there, like before 7 a.m., it's still going to be 52 degrees. 52 degrees at 7 a.m. for a tailgate in November. I'll take it. And then it's going to be in the 60s at kickoff. So, it's going to be great. You can wear your black. It'll actually help you warm up a little bit, and you'll be just fine. But just like we said with the Stripe the Stadium, participate. Don't be that guy that's like, I think I'll wear my yellow starter jacket just because
I wear my hunting jacket that's blaze orange, because it's cold outside.
Don't be doing that.
Yeah, don't do that, man. Just wear some. Everybody's got something black, even if you don't have a logo on it. Just wear something black. The one other thing I want to talk about before we get into this game, Jiminy Christmas, for 20 minutes into the show, haven't even talked about the game yet, is it's all the promo video, the short one that they put out, which are always so good. And you're going to get a nice special intro for 75 week. You always do. So another reason to show up, because those are always awesome. And I saw the teaser, with Eric Meeks this year. And I don't know if you saw it. You probably did.
I did.
That occurred to me as I was watching that. And I thought, you know what, mate, that's something that the team can really rally behind. And to be featured in the 75-week promo video, the official Marshall promo videos, I think should be considered one of the, if not the biggest, most prestigious honor that a player can obtain from the team, to say, hey, we want you to represent us in 75-week video. I just think that's such a good idea, and a way to reward a guy that is not only doing well on the field, but maybe has been a part of this program for 2, 3, 4 years. One of those guys that's been around, stayed around, really gets it. I think that's a really special thing that hopefully the right ears hear this and go, you know what, that's a good idea. We do want to do that. We are going to save that slot in a video for somebody that has earned it, not just whoever the most gaudiest stats guy is that particular season. Could be that guy, might not be that guy, right? But let's talk about this game, man, because James Madison's coming in red freaking hot. They haven't given up a point in the second half in forever, so it doesn't get any tougher this week for the Herd. And we talked about the Coastal game, which now seems like ancient history. But even though the score was a little lopsided, the turnovers, if those don't happen, or even if some of them don't happen, that's still a very winnable game. It was still winnable anyway with all those turnovers. We just couldn't, one too many, two too many, So now you get James Madison. And this will be your sixth, seems like way more, sixth all-time meeting between the Herd and the Dukes. The Herd is 4-1 all time. Now, in the Sun Belt Conference era, this is just the fourth meeting, and the Herd is 2-1. The one comes in Huntington, which is the other weird, quippy thing about this growing rivalry, is that the home team has never won in this series between the Herd and the Dukes. Marshall has beaten JMU twice at Bridgeforth, which they hate. And the Herd has lost at the Joan, which we obviously know they hate. The FBI, the matchup predictor, is not a Herd fan this week. 21.7% chance to win for the Herd. Third straight home game. Marshall is a home dog. Biggest one yet, plus 12.5 as I was prepping. Over and under, and this game has dropped by a point. It is now 54.5. Well, I don't know how it gets much more of a taller task here. We are off of our worst performance of the year. These guys are streaking, and a 2-score home dog. Gross. And when you start, we're going to talk about this injury report here in a minute. And when you glance at that, it ain't getting no better. There's really no edge that's coming in the injury report either. But listen, before we get into the injury report, it's that time in the show where we got to talk about Dead Meat Society real quick and let everybody know once again that this is the lifestyle brand for you if you are into cooking, grilling, tailgating, and that whole lifestyle. And I can't pretend that I know anything about anything other than eating food at tailgates, but my best buddy Russ absolutely does. All the folks that contribute over at Dead Meat Society love everything that has to do with that sort of thing, including one of our buds that has cooked for many of you guys in the past. I'm going to give a shout out to Kyle Walker. What's up, Kyle? He texted me earlier today and showed me some cool shoes because he knows I love some sneakers. So he was like, hey, check these out. So he's been on my mind today. Wanted to give him a shout out because it looked like he sent me a picture of him chilling in his backyard, like with his laptop. Looked like he was writing up something for DMS. So I don't know. So you're going to get some really, really good info if you go over to deadmeatsociety.com. But Russ, talk about them real quick and the fact that they will be at the game at the tailgates this week. You can drop by, probably get yourself a little bit of Dead Meat Society swag, a couple stickers maybe, and hang out, maybe meet the CGO, super cool guy, really hard to miss. It sticks out in a crowd, super awesome guy. I wish I was going to be there for that. To talk about Dead Meat Society and then roll that kick-ass commercial.
KD, you know that we don't break news here on the ThunderCast. So I got some breaking news. Dead Meat Society is going to be there, obviously. Chief Grilling Officer, Jake Coons. Jake is a JMU grad and a JMU fan, and that's how we all got hooked up. Jake told me that he is going to have some of the prototypes that are getting ready to be there. You can pick them up if you're over at the tailgate. You can pick them up, feel the weight of them, get the good look of them and all that stuff. And you'll be able to see a lot of that stuff that is getting ready to become available. So you will be one of the first ones to touch this before anybody across the world can purchase it. So we're talking about he's got a super cool grilling mat, a utensil holder, that you can put on there, all the different utensils and the types of them and stuff. But the swag is super cool as well. But I mean, he's got a little bit of everything, and it's getting ready to just be mass available for everybody. Get over to our tailgate and see that. I do want to say real quick that they are there. They will probably be on the show, Dead Meat Society, but all of the tailgate is made possible by landscaping by Hillcrest. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the menu later. I just wanted to clarify this is still a landscaping by Hillcrest tailgate, but you're going to see plenty of Dead Meat Society there and our kick-ass tailgate, and I think they're going to appreciate it. Now let's roll this beautiful footage, as you call it.
Ever since the discovery of fire, mankind has gathered around it to prepare food. And today we enjoy fellowship with family, friends, and even strangers as we cook and grill. At home on the weekends, at tailgates for sporting events, and just by ourselves to find inner peace. We have holidays centered around the custom of grilling. And now there is a society for those of us who like to grill, who stay up all night to get that smoke ring just right, who share their gifts with others. The Dead Meat Society is here. Flame, family, community, feed everyone.
Katie, a real quick thing about feeding everyone. The JMU thing, I want to give that a shout out. So Jake, through Dead Meat Society, is helping do the Facing Hunger Food Bank right here in Huntington, West Virginia. My wife's on the board. I've been with Facing Hunger for a long time, and dear friend of mine is the director. But the JMU fan base right now has two different fundraisers where Duke fans are helping fund this when our food banks need it the most. So just another little key thing I wanted to say about JMU, Dead Meat Society, and all the ties here to Marshall and Huntington.
Yeah, it is super cool, man. And that just goes to show you that there are opportunities in the world of sports that transcend sport. And sometimes we come across some great folks that just like to do good when they can do good. I mean, we're a couple of those guys. When we can do some good, we want to do some good. We use our platform to help as many people as we can. And, but I'm not looking for a pat on the back, right? We do that because we like it. But I am going to pat those guys on the back because they chose the Huntington Food Bank to support this week. And of course, it's because they're playing the herd, but they didn't have to do that. They 100%. I wouldn't have been like, you know what? They really needed to help out somebody in our community for this game to matter. They did not have to do that, and they chose to do that, and that's just so wicked cool, man. It is wicked cool, and I've seen a lot of fans on social media responding to that post and talking about this, that, and the other, and how great that is. And that, that like a lot of respect goes to those guys and gals and whoever's affiliated. Right. And somebody asked me today about James Madison my response was about as high praise as you can give. I said, everybody that I've met at James Madison has been awesome. And they're really just like herd fans wearing purple. And that's about as high praise as I can give you, because herd fans are great people. And really the only difference between a lot of JMU fans and Marshall fans is that they're wearing a different colored shirt. So it's really easy to get along with those guys. I still want to beat the ever-loving dog snot out of their football team on Saturday. Like, don't get me wrong. But they're really great folks to hang with and get to know. So there's a lot of mutual respect between the ThunderCast and all about everybody that's affiliated with James Madison. But outside of that, they're great people. But outside of that, I mean, I want to hand them an ale on Saturday. No two ways about it. But I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about the injury report real quick. I got to think this is a huge reason that James Madison is still really, really good at 7-1, 5-0 in conference. Their injury report reads like this: one guy, running back. I don't even know how to say his name. Ayo Adeyi. That's tough. And he's questionable, not even out. They have no one out on their injury report. Marshall, though, still has 5 guys out, a bunch of familiar names, a couple new to the injury report. So here we go. Michael Allen still out so far. Outside linebacker Rashawn Carr still listed as out. Offensive lineman Peyton Ellis still listed as out. 2 new members to the injury report this week. Defensive back Al Ashford and wide receiver Brian Robinson. The other one that Herd fans really, really ought to hope is an upgrade by game time. Defensive lineman Braden Ward on the injury report, currently listed as questionable. It'd be really hard to stomach a defense facing this vaunted offense without Braden Ward. I hope that's an upgrade. Things get fixed, and he's a full go. But for right now, he's just questionable. And again, I got to tell you, as we know, there will be an updated injury report. So these things are not final. Anybody could be upgraded or downgraded. This is just the initial one.
But I have heard it explained further that if they are listed out on the Wednesday night report, then they cannot be upgraded to playing. Yeah, they cannot play at all if they're listed out early. So anybody that you saw that was listed out for Marshall, there's no chance they're going to be playing in the game.
So we really are hoping that Braden Ward gets an upgrade and he is a go, because we will need him undoubtedly against this James Madison offense. So let's talk about these guys in this Dead Meat Society Marshall football preview. Starts with the quarterback, number 14, Alonzo Barnett III, 6', 217 junior, 123 out of 199 for 1,516 yards, 13 touchdowns through the air versus just 3 interceptions. Another 63 carries on the ground for 364 yards. That's good for 5.4 yards per carry and 10 freaking touchdowns on the ground. This guy has accounted for 23 total touchdowns, and he didn't even start the year as their starting quarterback. Sound familiar? Running back, number 3, Wayne Knight. Not that Wayne Knight. Not Hello Newman. Not that Wayne Knight. But this is the running back version. Far more athletic. 5'7", 190-pound junior. Leads the team in carries and rushing yards. 106 carries, 659 yards on the ground, 6.2 yards per carry, and 5 touchdowns on the ground. He's also the team's 3rd leading receiver with 25 receptions for 234 yards. Good for 9.4 yards per reception. We're going to feature another running back, number 23, Jordan Fuller, the 5'11", 229-pound senior, 72 carries on the ground, 386 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns on the ground. A couple of wide receivers we're going to talk about. Number 13, Landon Ellis, 6'2", 213 junior, leads the team in receptions, yards, and touchdown receptions. 27 receptions, 437 yards, 5 touchdowns through the air, good for 16.2 yards per catch. And then number 11, wide receiver Dick DiGennaro, 6'1", 196. He's a senior, 14 catches for 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, good for a whopping 21.7 yards per reception. Let's talk about what this Duke's offense does good. A lot. Points per game, they're scoring 34.8. That's good for 27th in the country. Yards per game, 442 is the number 26th ranked offense in the country. Hold on to your hats, Herd fans. Rush yards per game, 244, the number 7 rush offense in the country. And pass yards per game, 198, good for 99th. Third down percentage, they're converting 52% of the time. That's good for 10th in the country. Time of possession, this one's going to blow you away. 35 minutes, 9 seconds per game, number 2 in the country. And they're trailing, guess who? Army, by guess how much? Only 11 seconds per game. What in the hell? Penalties per game, 8 for an average of 74 yards. That does put them near the bottom. They're 132nd in penalties per game. Russ, what about this freaking Duke's offense? Has you worried?
Oh, everything. everything. You know, I had to go through all this with my pals from JMU Sound Off. And
shout out.
I mean, you know, Taylor and Michael, John wasn't there, and Taylor and Michael might as well just showed up at my house and started kicking Misty and Theo, my two puppies. But it was humiliating to listen to all that, where I'm having to say, oh, you're ranked 7th, and 11th there, and 2nd there. Yeah. But just, you know, you threw that one out about passing where they're 99th, and I don't want anyone to get any kind of false sense of hope that, well, at least they can't pass very well. That's because they started off the season with a guy that in the last game of the year against us, on the last play of the game that he was in, he tore his knee. And he was cleared like a week, 2 weeks before that first game this year. Mm-hmm. So they've had to kind of work up to that. The last 2 games, their offense is crazy good. They're throwing a lot better. In conference, they're doing a lot better. So they just don't really have very many holes. Their offensive line is killer to be able to help them rush the way they do. Wayne Knight is one of those extremely fast. He's a smaller guy, but extremely fast. He's fast and quick, huge top speed. Nick DeGennaro that you talked about, you know, number 11, he has gotten all 4 of his receiving touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. And one of them went for 60-some yards and one went for 70-some yards. He's just been that guy that's been breaking away. So even that has given them more weapons over the past couple of weeks. This offense is crazy good. They're scoring 57.5 the last 2 weeks, 37.6 in conference play. So when you say they're 34.8 tied for 27th, they've been trending upward, you know, because they started out way low. And everything they're doing right now, they're continuing to go up. They've gotten better the last 2 weeks. Are we glazing them? No. We're just telling you the daggone truth. You know, this offense is something that we really have to watch because they are taking it to people right now.
Yeah, and stats are what they are. This is a good team. You know, you're more than halfway through the season now, so you are who you are. But the thing, you know, we talked about some of these similar things with us last week, and didn't expect to go in and do what we did at Coastal Carolina.
Right.
So nobody is immune to the turnover. You look at this quarterback, 3 interceptions on the year, you know, hasn't really turned the ball over that much. They don't really fumble the ball a whole lot, but they're only, I'll talk about it here in a second in the defense because it's a defensive stat, but they're due to have one of those type games. And how it lines up when you're due and you're going to face Marshall in 75 week when weird things happen anyway, and we all know it. This is not hyperbole. We've been to enough 75-week games. We've seen enough of them that the fluky play that doesn't happen all the time is a thing in this game. It happens year in and year out. Last year, it was the blocked field goal return for touchdown. A couple of years ago, it was the blocked punt for touchdown, I believe, or recovered in the end zone. I mean, or it's, you know, facing one of the top teams in the conference in a very down year and still winning that game convincingly. Things happen, man. Things happen in this game. You cannot count the herd out of any 75-week game ever. I don't care if they're an 0-11 team at the time or 0-9 team. It doesn't happen. But just when you thought it might get easier when you talk about the defense, it does not, because we have talked about already they have not given up a point in the second half of a game in, 4 games. I thought it was either 4 or 5. So in the last month, they haven't given up a point in the second half of a football game. And they've played some pretty good teams, you know, peer institutions in that last month. So let's talk about the 4 guys we're going to feature, all second and third level guys. It starts with number 5, linebacker Trent Hendrick, a 6 foot, 234-pound senior, leads the team in tackles and tied for solo tackles. 58 total, 21 solo. He has 3 sacks, a pass defended, and a forced fumble. Then we talk about number 13, safety Tyler Brown, 5'11", 194-pound sophomore, 47 total tackles, tied for the team lead with solos with 21. 3 passes defended, and he has an interception. Then we talk about the second safety, number 7, Jacob Thomas, 6'1", 212-pound senior, 40 total tackles, 20 of those solo, 2 sacks, 4 passes defended, 2 interceptions, and a forced fumble. I'd put a circle around that guy. He seems to be a really good all-around player. And then number 3 linebacker, Gannon Weathersby. I like that name, Gannon Weathersby. 5'10", 222-pound junior, 39 total tackles, 9 solo, adds a sack, and a pass defended. You talk about impact plays across this team. 23 sacks on the year. That's about 2.9 per game. 25 passes defended, 9 picks, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. Couldn't find that tackles for loss stat, but I'm sure it's up there pretty good. Let's talk about notes on this Duke's defense. Points allowed, 16.1 points per game allowed, and that's probably a little higher over the last month or so, or a little lower over the last month or so, but that's still good for 11th in the country in points allowed. Yards, total yards allowed per game, 264.2. That's 8th in the country. Rush yards allowed, 80.25 yards per game to opponents. That's 5th in the country. Pass yards per game allowed, 171.1. That's 18th in the country. Third down defense, they're only allowing opponents to convert third downs 31.8% of the time. That's 16th in the country. And their turnover margin, this is what I was getting at earlier. It's just 0.13 on the season. They're tied for 58th. So they're turning it over as much as they're getting turnovers, and neither one of them are a lot. They take care of the football, but they don't get the football from you. Definitely something that you're going to want to watch as the Herd comes off of that debacle in the second half against Coastal Carolina. Russ, just when we thought we might be able to figure something out with the offense, well, we have to possess the football and figure out something else to make way against this Duke's defense. They're just damn good all the way around.
As impressive as the offense is, the defense has been that way pretty much all season long, and it's been their calling card. It's they're even more impressive on defense. You know, you don't give up a single instance of 300-plus yards all season long, and that's what they did in the last game against Texas State. They got to 352. And that's because they had dropped like 284 or something like that in the first half, 289, something around there. They gave up 275 yards against Old Dominion, who had a great offense. And, you know, we handled them here and everything. 275 in the first half. Guess what they got in the second half, KD? Do you remember?
No.
10 yards.
10 yards.
They got 1 yard in the third quarter and 9 in the fourth.
Wow.
And that's part of this 4-game swing where they've not allowed a single point in the second half. And they're good against the run. They're good against the pass. They're good against, obviously, total offense then. They're good against points given up. And it's trending better for them just as the offense was. They've got some guys on here that are up for awards. You know, Jacob Thomas is up for the Burlsworth Award. He's on the nominee list for that. It starts up front with Emmanuel Bush, former Marshall player that we spoke about earlier, and it just keeps getting worse and worse, you know, for us when you look at it. I don't know, man. I just there's no weak link here, but the defensive coordinator definitely goes out and makes halftime adjustments, obviously, when you look at their performance. We talked about the 4 weeks of 0 points, but they were down 7-0, I think, against Georgia State, a bad Georgia State team this year. And then they come out and 14-7, they ended up winning that game. So these halftime adjustments has just been ridiculous to where if they have a bad game in the first half, or if you just bring your A game at them in the first half, like the last 2 weeks, you know, they just come out and say, totally different team after halftime.
Well, worrisome, right? Because I wouldn't call halftime adjustments a bona fide strength of this Herd team. We've seen some in games that absolutely won us football games, and we've seen flat second halves, and we've seen horrible second half. Like, you can't say that it would have been what we would have done had we don't know what we would have done had we not turned the ball over 4 or 5 times last week. We have no clue, right? But it's still, we were both in agreement that the game felt off even in the first half of that game.
That's right. That's right.
It just didn't feel right. So the energy for this one is going to have to feel a lot different. Now, let's also talk about this. A couple of years ago, they come into Jones C. Edwards Stadium as a really, really good football team. We're without our biggest weapon in Rasheen Ali, and we played those dudes as tough as you could play them without being able to do anything. I mean, wasn't that the game where we started on the 1 yard line like 4 times in the first half? I mean, so we were taking those punches, and still we only lost that game 20-9.
And it was 3-2 at halftime. We discussed this on the Sound Off Getting to Know JMU episode, and I reminded them of that. And they wanted to tell their fans while they were talking about it. They keep talking about how good they were in 23 and how good they were in 23, and they were almost unbeatable in 23. And then they came here against Marshall and had every right with everything that was going on with our quarterback having cracked ribs and our all-American level running back being out, and find that out while we're out in the tailgate for the out in the parking lot for the tailgate. And they come in here, and we had to start on the 1 or the 2 4 times, and it was 3-2 at halftime. 3-2.
So,
and brother. That was not a 75 week either.
No, as good as these guys are, nobody's invincible. You still got to line up across from them, and you got to beat them play in and play out. And what I want to say, while we were talking about this defense, I went and looked up the herd stats. Marshall's averaging 394 yards of offense every game, right, so far this season. That's 63rd in the country, but still, we're pushing that 400 a game mark. So it is, if you can allow yourself to not bring that Coastal game into your thought process, and you just think about what Marshall looked like the previous 4 games or 3 to 4 games, you think, oh, well, we can put 300 yards on this team, because if this offense clicks like they have been doing, we will do that, because they are a good offense, a good high-octane offense. And for a defense that only allows 80 yards a game, Marshall's running the ball 206.5 yards a game. That's 18th in the country. So this is strength on strength in this one. It does hurt that Michael Allen is out, but we just saw Antoine Roberts have a great game. We know what Joshawn Barbie can do. We saw Justin Williams-Thomas have a great game in backup duty. These guys can also, CDRWs can still run the damn football, So there's not invincible. They're not invincible. They're really good, but they're also beatable. One specialist I'm going to talk about, Russ, then we're going to do some keys. Place kicker Morgan Suarez, 5'9", 174-pound senior, 4 of 7 on the season on field goals, with a long of 39. Perfect on the year, 38-38 on extra points. You got to think this is an advantage for the herd. Lorcan Quinn can hit from damn near anywhere on his half of the field, and does it consistently now. So this is definitely an area. If you get into some crazy defensive struggle where points are at a premium and kicks might win the game, this is definitely an area where I would tend to think that Marshall has an edge. Let's talk about some keys to victory, man. I got 4 of them. What is your number 1?
I have 5 this week.
Okay.
My number 1 is win the turnover battle decisively. Before the Coastal game, we were doing a great job of taking care of the football, right? We had also forced a lot of turnovers against a team as dangerous as JMU on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. Turnovers could be that great equalizer.
Yeah, and the statistics point to that. They don't take the ball away from you. They do protect the football really, really well. But Marshall gets turnovers. And that, now, again, we killed our turnover margin last week with all the turnovers that we got. We still were able to get a couple. But still, you go out and get those turnovers, anything can happen. I mean, we saw that last week. Anything can happen, and it did happen. But excellent point. That is always the great equalizer, and you need that in this game. My number one key to victory, dude, this is going to be the most vanilla thing ever, but I think it's what has to happen. It's a back-to-basics game for the herd. Protect the football, run the football, score the football, stop the run. Basic stuff. if you're able to do those 4 things, you're really going to have a really strong case really to win this game. It's that easy. You don't turn it over. You run the ball. You eat the clock. You shorten the game. You stop the run. You score. That's how you win. That's football 101. Marshall blew that out of the water last week in a very, very bad way. Like, racked up yardage, but turned the ball over. So it's back to basics for me on this one. That's my number 1. What's your number 2?
Explode on offense early. If there's one Achilles heel that JMU has shown, is that you can score on them early. ODU and Texas State, and I kind of feel like they're kind of peers to us. We're all elevated offenses here in the Sun Belt Conference. They moved the ball in the first half and put up points right along with JMU. 27-20 their last game, and 28-27 against ODU. We need to get out to a great start and force them to have to adapt.
Yeah, I dig that. I'll take a fast start. I don't think there's a fan in the land that wouldn't want to jump on them quick and give them a little punch in the mouth, right? Number 2 for me is you got to win that hidden quarter this week. That's the last half of the second quarter, first half of the third quarter. A lot of games are won and lost in that 15 minutes of game time.
Boy, we lost the last one.
But that's because that directly speaks to your point earlier about them being great at halftime adjustments. Mm-hmm. That means you're going to be able to have to close out a first half really strong and then turn right around and be really, really strong and weather those first wave or 2 waves of halftime adjustments in order to keep a lead or maintain a close game. That 15 minutes of game time can really swing a game either direction. And it might be magnified big time in this one. What's your number 3?
We need to make the necessary halftime adjustments. Like we've said, JMU has not allowed a single point in the second half of the last 4 games. They've been extremely stingy on yards as well. Remember, I said 10 yards with ODU. We had a horrible second half last week and need to be able to come out with a different look in the second half that will keep them guessing. So this ties into my number 2. You come out hot, you do that, and they're like, hey, we got to stop this. And then you've already game planned. We're just going to do this instead.
Yeah. Good. Creativity, and I mean that in a good way, not some crazy 19-step trick play, because I don't think that's going to work this week. These guys are good. You're not going to fool them. They're good for a reason. They probably watch a lot of film. They pick up on things. They probably got a lot of smart football players that recognize that stuff and tendencies and things. Back to basics, man. Take it back to basics. Now, I would love to see more of that misdirection stuff, those nuanced plays that we saw. I've never seen play calls like that against Coastal. Some of those were gorgeous and they worked great. It wouldn't hurt my feelings to see some of that stuff, but those flea flickers and halfback passes and
Now, I hope they mix in. I've been begging for this since we started the show. Mix in the hook and lateral. I want to see that.
Give me the Mike Barber fake tying your shoes, run up and dart down the field play. That'd be one to pull out. My number 3 key to victory is another simple one, man, and this speaks to every player individually. Do your job. Just do your job. Don't worry about picking up the slack for that guy and this guy and that. Just do your job. If everybody does their job, there's no slack to pick up because everything is taken care of. Let's simplify, man. Let's get back to basics. Just play good football. Do your job, your assignment. Don't try to do too much, but have fun while you're doing it. That's what got you to this point. That's what got you to this level of football. You did your job, you did it well, and you have a lot of fun while you're playing. I want to see that. I think that's kind of going to translate into, feeding off of one another. And this guy's made a play. Now this guy's going to make a play. And it just starts a little snowball effect. And next thing you know, man, you might be up a couple tutties there late in the second half. Give me your 4th.
Limit their rushing attack without selling out to the point where they burn you through the air. They have been having a field day on the ground. We had to focus on not letting them shred us too. But we've done much better at limiting people rushing against us, and we've been giving up so much through the air. So I'm not saying stack the box with 8 and make them beat us through the air, because they sure can, but we have got to find a way to prevent Wayne Knight from just putting up $150 against us and calling it a day.
Well, him and
Alonzo Barnett and, everybody else. George Pettaway was their big running back the last 2, maybe 3 years. And he's still good, but he's like 3rd or 4th now on their options. And that just shows again how deep they are at running back.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of amassing some talent. They're really deep. But I still, for all how good they are, I still like our offense. This is not a question of not liking the Herd in comparison. They're good. They're playing good. We're still sporadic and not consistent. But when we are on, dude, I think we can go toe to toe, point for point with anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody in this league. Which brings me to my 4th key to victory. Focus on us. Do our thing. This is 75 week. This is all about the Herd. Doesn't matter it could be the 85 Bears on the other sideline, right? You're focusing on what you do and who you are and how you can win the football game. I mean, it's cheesy, right? But it's a cheesy thing to say because it's the line from the movie, but it's how you play today is how you will be remembered. And largely in these games, signature performances during a 75 week more than any other week are remembered. And I think if I'm a player on this team, and I'm a little biased because I'm a 30+ year Herd fan, but if I'm a player on this team, I want to leave a mark on 75 week. I want a signature play. I want that to go down in Herd lore. So you focus on what we can do and who we are and how we can play. The opponent at that point almost becomes secondary or even lower. If you do your job, you get back to basics, and you're focusing on what you can do, the opponent almost becomes irrelevant. But this is a really good opponent. They're obviously not irrelevant. You have to account for them, but you need to do it in a way that allows you to be you. The Herd needs to be the Herd this week. Go on the offense. Don't go on the defense per se. Now, hit me with that 5th key to victory.
So usually I have 4, you have 4, but I kept thinking about this, and I was like, I cannot leave this out, and it's win the field position battle. We need to pin them deep, just like they did to us in in 2023, but hopefully get short fields for us, force them to have to punt to where we've got a short field. That'll help us put up points, make it harder for them to put up points. And just like you said it earlier, you stole it. Our kicker has the advantage from being able to hit from further. They're 0 for 3, 40 and longer. So that's talking about getting down to the 23-yard line. Their guy still has not made one from there. They have to basically get into the red zone before they're in his range. Is he capable of hitting from 40? Yes. Has he done it so far this year? No.
Right.
So our guy can, their guy right now, it's a big question mark on whether he can. So if you could win that field position battle, it would make it so much harder. Now they can score. I mean, they've got, drives of 80 some plus yards. They've got chunk plays from 70 and 60 and all that. They can score from anywhere on the field, but we got to at least make it harder on them by winning that field position battle.
Yeah, I agree. If Marshall's got a lot of, I think fans would say there are several Achilles heels on this team, but there's none more glaring than the chunk play. And there's none more glaring than giving up the chunk play on a 3rd down or just an optically bad touchdown, right? But that's a great key because I'm thinking if you're able to come out and have an unbelievable type effort, things just are working, and James Madison's slow. It's just not working as well as they're accustomed to it working. We've seen Lorcan Quinn hit 50+ yard field goals many times over the last month. He's become far more consistent than he was in, say, week 2 to now. I mean, not a completely different player, but a much improved player. That's a huge asset that could win you a game. And we've seen moments for him building to this. This might be his 75-week moment. his signature performance. Yep, he's already been a 4-for-4 guy, a special teams player of the week in Sun Belt Conference. This might be the one. Dude, maybe he kicks one field goal on Saturday, and it's from 56 to win the game. I mean, wow. Talk about a storyline. Talk about a memory. Talk about a play. Let's talk about MVPs. Who's your offensive MVP this week?
Carlos Del Rio Wilson Jr. Not Jr. I think that I was looking at a player here on the roster, but Carlos Del Rio Wilson, if he is on his game, he's going to really be the guy that is going to have to pick everybody up on the offense and let it run through him. That's what's worked all season long. You know, when he was number one in efficiency in the country, you could count on him protecting the football. Last week, it was an anomaly in the worst way for him to have four in a row possessions where he gave up a turnover. And I feel like if we can do that and he can keep them honest by scrambling when he needs to, but not necessarily doing design plays for 20-plus rushes a game, I think that he can beat them through the air and on the ground and be the MVP.
I think he has to be, and he's my MVP pick this week too. This is going to tell me a lot as a fan about Del Rio Wilson, because this is his first opportunity since turning the football over 4 times to come out in a real game speed action against a quality opponent. And how does he respond? How does he bounce back? It's not a question of toughness. We know the kid's tough. We've seen him running over people all year long. It's not about physical toughness. And you hear the coaches talk about him as one of the most intelligent players from the quarterback position that they've been around. But it's not about being smart. It's not about being football smart. It's about having the ability to put all of that happened last week out of your mind, wipe the slate clean, and come out and play your game and perform to the level that you have been accustomed to playing. Not what I expect you to do, not what you expect him to do, not what the herd fans expect him to do, but what he expects of himself. Can he wipe that performance from Coastal Carolina away? Forget all about it like it never happened. And can you come out here against James Madison at home on 75 week and dazzle? That will tell me a lot about the DNA of this kid. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's uber talented. But what we haven't seen is him have to bounce back from that type of extreme adversity. And boy, oh boy, he's got a tall task in a defense to do it against. And just think about what that does for confidence, what that does for him down the stretch if he's able to come out and have that 350-yard all-purpose game with 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's going to be massive down the stretch. Defensively, who's your guy this week?
I wish it could be someone like a Braden Ward, like it was when we had the sacks that did it in 2022 and changed that game. But I've got Boogie Trotter, and I already said I need a lot of the turnover battle to happen. Nothing better than the nation's best in turnovers right now. He's tied for first with 5 interceptions. He's already taken 2 for pick sixes. Mm-hmm. He's a threat to do that at any time. So look for Boogie to continue to be an asset, both in them not wanting to throw his way, him still getting interceptions, and also those open field tackles that he's just been so good at. Give me Boogie Trotter again this week.
I thought about this one for a while, and I settled as well on Boogie Trotter. And I don't want this to come across the wrong way. Marshall's 2 victories against James Madison have shown a premier pass rusher having a great game. Mm-hmm. Owen Porter's not walking through that door in this one. Mike Green ain't walking through that door and strapping up and playing. Now you're running the 3-3-5. Mm-hmm. So you're down a defensive lineman. Marshall struggled the past couple of weeks to get to the quarterback anyway. It's got to be Boogie. because he's the most electric guy on the defense. Again, no disrespect to anybody else. I hope we come out and have 10 quarterback sacks in the game. That'd be freaking awesome. Boogie Trotter has the ability to take over a game early, set the tone early, and force an offense to move away from him, which we've seen over and over and over. And that does put some pressure on the other DBs and safeties to make plays. Sorry, you're going to have to step up because he's doing his job so well that they don't want to throw at him too often for the remainder of the game. Mm-hmm. That ain't his fault, right? That it leaves on everybody else going to have to step up. Who was a big-time performer last year against James Madison? Green-McKnight. Be a great game for JD to have another great game. A guy that's fallen under the radar for past couple of weeks, month, right? Hero of the game last year to send the herd to the SBC championship game. Love to see it again this week. But it's got to be Boogie Trotter. He's the only guy that you can point to consistently and go, they avoid that dude. Every team avoids that guy at some point in the game. And I hope that Coach Chesney, who I think is a great coach, has that stubborn gene in him to go, you know what? My offense is the one that will expose this guy, because that just means Boogie's going to have opportunities to come down with one and take another one to the house. Nobody's been able to do it fully yet. So please, Coach, take your shots at Boogie early. I'd love to have him get a third pick six. Let's talk special teams now. Who's your guy?
Well, you would think that I was going to say Lorcan Quinn, where we said he has an advantage and everything, but I'm thinking to my 5th overall key to victory, and I'm going with Nathan Totten. The guy's 43.7 yards per punt right now. He's got a long of 59. I need him to be that guy that really flips that field and makes it harder on them, and maybe puts them inside their 20, maybe inside their 5, to where we can get the ball at midfield or better, or anything happens at that point. You know, it's much easier to get a pick six from 5 or 10 yards away than from 85 yards away. It's much easier to get a scoop and score or a safety or something when you're back there. So give me Nathan Totten helping to pin them back and just doing a great performance like their punter, that I've even forgotten his name because I never want to relive that. But how they did us, I mean, that won the game for them.
Well, again, as you would also think I might choose Lorcan Quinn, I'm not. I think he's just is who he is. He's now way more consistent. He's just a weapon. We know he could come up huge. He could be good for 4 or 5 field goals if Marshall struggles to get, into the red zone. He can do that for you. I'm going with another guy that I need to see a bounce back performance from. Floyd Lacey in the punt return game. I think this is a great game for him to make some noise, maybe flip that field when they get that deep punt on us. He struggled last week. Remember, we talked about it. Fumbled one out of bounds, tripped up on another return. Now, the fumble wasn't his fault. That hit a defender or hit Sweeting in the back. So that wasn't Floyd's fault. But you mentioned during one return, he lost his footing, tripped up a little bit. I talked about the one he fumbled out of bounds. So I'm sure he's like, all right, that ain't me. That ain't how I roll. Let me get back to basics, right? And do what worked for me in the beginning of the season. Floyd Lacey needs to come up big on special teams. I'm not calling him out by any means. I'm just saying he needs to come up big in this game. Yeah. That would be a massive thing for this Herd offense, especially if they're struggling. A couple big returns put you almost in field goal range already. Give me Floyd Lacey, man.
And you've seen what he's capable of. He's been a threat to take it to the house every time he's touched the ball from punt returns all season long. It's not like he had one good game or whatever. He was a threat week in, week out.
Yeah, and he still is. That's why it's a bounce back week for him as well. Score prediction time. What do you got?
Man, I feel like the hill is just too much to climb, and we put up the greatest effort. And I can't wait to be proven wrong, as every time I had to pick against Marshall. But I'm saying JMU outlasts us, and it's 42-34 in a game where we really have them reeling. But it's just too much at the end. I can't wait to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But right now, that's the way I see it.
Well, my heart and my mind are in line this week, and I don't care. It's 75 week, and I don't care who's walking through that door. I don't care who's running out of that visitor's tunnel. I will never pick against the herd on 75 week, and I'm not
Right
doing
on.
it just because. I'm doing it because I think we can win the damn football game.
Right on, man.
38-36 herd in a nail biter. Look out for that Lorcan Quinn kick to win the freaking game. 38-36. That's enough. That is enough to win the game. Give me the herd. Give me the Kings of the East. One more time. Take that crown back to Harrisonburg, boys. I can't do it. I cannot pick against the herd on 75 week. The final words on this one.
Yeah, we need to talk about the tailgate real quick.
Sure.
This in this Dead Meat Society preview, we're going to talk food, right? And thanks to Landscaping by Hillcrest, they have done every single tailgate. This is now 2 years in a row that they've done every single tailgate. And they always say, we want you to do it big. And we're going to. So I'm going to have, they are actually coming over to my house, Landscaping by Hillcrest, and loading up my Blackstone griddle and taking it to the stadium parking lot so we can do a little bit better of, cooking on site and everything. But we're going to have 2 different types of breakfast burritos. We're going to have bacon, egg, and cheese and sausage, egg, and cheese. We'll have your hot sauce, your salsa, your sour cream for those. I'm going to do fried potatoes right there with onions and peppers and seasonings and things like that, fried in bacon grease, just like it was intended to be. We're going to be frying up some apple cinnamon. It's fall, right? We're going to do some apple cinnamon donuts, and we're going to fry them up right there. And we're going to have a fruit and cheese tray. We're just going to make this just the best brunch that we can in a short amount of time. And we're going to have a mimosa bar. We're going to have a Bloody Mary bar. We're going to have some screwdrivers, and we'll, have the usual beer there as well too. But this Landscaping by Hillcrest tailgate is going to be big.
Yeah, come hungry. We say that a lot. Come hungry. Come to the tailgate this week and meet some great folks. You don't have to like James Madison. I'm not telling you to make him their friend. I'm just telling you, if you rub shoulders with some of their fans, it's kind of hard not to like them. They're good people. They're good folks. They're just like we are. When opponents come to Huntington, you want them to leave thinking they met great people, and oftentimes they do. Allow yourself to make some pals with an opposing team. Doesn't mean you have to be a fan of their team, right? You can be a fan of the people. They're good people. There's also going to be a plethora of herd brothers back in town for this game. Now, we never have a guest list or confirmed who's coming or anything, but you never, ever know who's going to stop by a ThunderCast tailgate. And you just might see some of those star-studded names of games past that we've talked about in this preview popping over at the tailgate for some breakfast burritos or some mimosas. Or maybe you're a bourbon in the coffee type guy. It takes all kinds. But yes, thanks to Landscaping by Hillcrest for sponsoring this tailgate for 2 years running. Gosh, I hope they want to come on for a 3rd season, because they are a great partner. They bring a lot to the game day experience for a lot of fans, visiting fans, player parents, everyone. We're so appreciative of them. We're so appreciative of Ignite.link for powering ThunderCast Live, which I should mention, we're going to be early. We're going to try to go sometime probably around 10 o'clock. I don't want to get involved too early. Don't want to make it too late so the guys can have a great time at the tailgate. Going to be a little bit of a different vibe. We're going to try to just go live through StreamYard. Now, it might be a different look than what you're used to seeing, be more like what you're looking at now. But tune in around 10 a.m. We'll be live on the YouTube channel. We're going to try to stream it live also to our Twitter account. And we're trying to make it work for you. But, Russ, if you got nothing else, take us out of here.
Yeah, whether you see us at the Cam, whether you see us at the Dot, or whether you see us at the C-Lot on 75 week, doesn't matter how friendly we are with those JMU guys. We're going to be tailgating our asses off and hopefully sending them home in a bad mood. No matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go herd.
Go herd. It's the ThunderCast. It's time to play till the whistle blows. We'll see you later.